Did you know that there's a bunch of hidden little details and aspects about Heartopia that the game just doesn't share with you? Now, I have played hours and hours of Heartopia at this point, and a lot of these things were shared with me either by the community, I figured out just by playing the game, or I found out from Googling, researching, and all of that kind of stuff. So I'm gonna share 15-ish things with you that I think every player needs to know about in Heartopia. So let's go ahead and jump right in. Now, starting off strong with the first tip, and this is related to the snow that you can see right now on screen. Everything is covered in snow, and if you're like me, this is just a bit too much. Like it's too much white and it's a little overwhelming. Now, what I didn't know is that you could actually turn this off. So if you go into your watch and you come down to the settings option and you go to graphics, you can come down to advanced effects and turn that off. Now your game will look like this, and you'll still get like snowy days and stuff like that in the game, but your entire environment will not be covered in snow if that's something you're not interested in. Now, speaking of snow, if you're wondering about the weather in your game, I was so shocked to figure this out, guys. I'm not even joking. If you come up to this little icon here, it doesn't look like you can click on it. Well, you can. And this will actually show you the weather for the week, which is so important because you'll see everything coming up for the next coming couple of days. And you can see whether there are even events taking place, which is really important because as you can see, Friday, there's the meteor shower event and Saturday is actually the rainbow event. Now, if you're wondering what these are, I'm going to talk about them later on in this video. So just stay tuned for that. But just know you can click this little icon and get an overview of how to set up your week and when to be prepared for different events that are happening in the game, which is really important. Now, another little tip I think everyone should know about, and I'm kind of just now realizing, is that you need to make sure you check with the NPCs every day because some days they are actually running discounts. I just got a bunch of milk from Massimo for 50% off, and you can see in the insect catching store there's 80% off all of these little vivariums. So if you're looking to get a specific item, and especially at a discounted rate, you're going to want to make sure you just check each day to see if they're running a sale. Now for this next tip, we're going to go find Albert, which is the person that you sell to get all of your money. So let's go find him. Now lucky for me, he just so happens to be close by, but here we're going to talk to him. And let me tell you, if you're like me, you were spending all of your time just clicking over and over to sell multiple items. Well, turns out you actually don't have to do that. If you click and hold, it will automatically sell everything in the stack. So let's do this stack of tomatoes. It's so much faster, and literally there is nothing in the game that I saw that tells you you can actually do this. So yeah, just click and hold and you can easily sell all of your items to Albert so much quicker without all the clicking around. Now this also goes for deselecting. If you just click and hold the minus sign, you can deselect everything so much faster. Now since we are talking to Albert, I'm going to give you my best money tip that I've learned so far because making money in the game is so important. Things are very expensive. So what you're going to want to do is make sure you process all of your ingredients. So instead of just selling fish, selling berries, you want to make sure that you turn these into meals first and foremost, because that can make you a decent amount of money. So for example, one of these fish and chips plates sells for 310 gold. If you get them any higher quality, like more stars, as you can see down here, they'll actually sell for significantly more. Now I'm going to insert some gameplay footage from my stream to show you guys that some of the best meals that you can make in the game, to my understanding so far, is the truffle pasta, and there's also a truffle pie. Now, I think that the truffle pie unlocks after you unlock gossiping, and I haven't gotten there yet. But if you want to get the truffle pasta, you can unlock it by leveling up your cooking skill to level 3. Once you get that, you can start making truffle pasta and selling it. And a 1-star truffle pasta sells for like 900 gold. Anything above 1 star starts selling for thousands. So it's an absolutely amazing thing to do. I would focus on leveling up your cooking skill as much as possible to get those recipes in order to sell them. Now, I'm not saying this is the absolute best way to make money, but it's the best way that I know to make money so far in the game. If anybody has any like tips or advice on other money making methods, feel free to share them in the comments below. Now, in addition to money making, if you're starting out in the game kind of like a newer player, this is a really good tip to know. If you come to different areas, which I'll show you on the map, you can collect these mushrooms. My favorites right now are the shiitake that you can find here on the map, right down here in the fishing village, but also the oyster mushrooms that you can collect up here in the onsen mountain lake, or just in the onsen actually area. They're all over this part of the map. Now I share this because if you come to Massimo's cooking store and you scroll down, you will find some food recipes. These food recipes here are pretty easy to get early on. I think you only need to be level 1 or level 2 in your cooking skill. Once you get this food recipe for the grilled mushrooms, you can start cooking these at home. For example, I'm doing the shiitake, but you can do this with the oyster mushrooms and any other mushrooms in the game. So you can see you have the grilled shiitake mushrooms and you also have the oyster mushrooms mushrooms, and I think both of these sell for 180 gold. And of course, as you make better star qualities, then they'll sell for even more. So this is a great recipe that you can spam early on by just making sure you're collecting up a ton of mushrooms. Make a whole bunch of these mushroom recipes and then sell them for a lot of gold. This also goes for the jam. Selling jam early days is another great way to make a lot of money, and you can collect all of the fruits from bushes and trees. So yeah, these are great recipes, especially for beginners. But once you get to the truffle making, the truffle pasta and the truffle pie dish, that's when you start making some real money in the game. Now, in addition to selling like processed items, the other things that you can sell are like these kites, for example. You'll also find from gacha little balls that you collect around the world, and from events and stuff that you will get balloons and fireworks and all of that kind of stuff. I highly recommend selling these items if you're not going to use them for decorating, or maybe like if you just want to use the fireworks in game for fun, that's fine, keep them. But if you don't, the fireworks sell for so much money. Kites and balloons sell for a lot of money too. So although you can use these objects in the game, like holding a balloon as a cute accessory and decorating your walls with the kites, selling these items, especially earlier on in the game, can get you a decent amount of gold. Now, speaking of inventory, did you know you can actually lock items in your backpack? A big shout out to our community member Jay, who shared this with me. But if you want to, for example, save a certain fish or other resources or anything in your inventory so that they don't accidentally get used in a cooking recipe or getting sold, you can actually just click the item and hit this little lock icon, which will ensure that these items don't get used by accident. So for example, I locked my octopus because I didn't want to accidentally use this in a cooking recipe, so that I could use this octopus in an actual fish tank at some point. So I went ahead and locked that. But you can do that with multiple different items in your inventory and just lock them so they don't accidentally get used up. Now, additionally, when you're in your inventory, you can actually do a press and hold again, which will open you up into a separate little mini menu, and you can start to select multiple items. So again, no more clicking, individually one by one. You can select all of these items and choose what you want to do with it. There's also a little toggle down here that you can turn on that will allow you to select the full stack instead of having to click over and over for selecting multiple items as well. Also, a big shout out to Shanzi, our community member, for sharing this tip with me. Super, super helpful. Now, you may be wondering why this is important, but for example, when you're on your home lot, you can actually click and hold, and here you can select your furniture, for example, and you can hit place in warehouse. So this leads us into our next tip. Did you know you had warehouse storage? Because I didn't. And apparently all of your furniture, for example, you can click to place in your warehouse storage, which is kind of like your at-home storage. And this is where I put all my furniture so that I have all my inventory space in my actual character's inventory to use for other things like resources. So again, those are really helpful tips for making your life a little bit easier when it comes to inventory and also just managing your items at home. Now, we all know how much Heartopia loves clicking. You do a lot of clicking in this game, and since we're talking about pressing and holding, did you know that you can make custom markers on your map? Because again, news to me, never explained. There was no tutorial in the game that showed you that you could do this, but essentially if you press and hold on your map like so, it'll open up a new menu, and this menu allows you to create custom markers or really anything that you want. So maybe you found a valuable resource and you want to be able to easily track that, or there's just an area on your map that you want to be able to return to without having to look around for it, then you can do so. So just for example, you can give your marker a name, you can give it an icon, change the color, hit save, and now this will be on your map. And not only is it on your map, but you can track it. So now you'll have the little glowing tracker that will send you in the direction of wherever this item is. Now, if you ever want to remove a marker, you can hit the 3 dots, you can edit it, or you can choose to delete it like you just saw here. For example, I've used it over here on this little island so that I can track where the truffles are, because truffles again are used to make a lot of money in the game. So you can mark resources just like this to make sure that you can easily find whatever you're looking for really quickly. I absolutely love this tip, and a big shout out to Sarah, our community member, for sharing this one with me. Now, while you're at home on your plot, many of you probably knew about this, and I think it unlocks after a certain level, but I didn't realize that there was actually like a god mode for decorating. When I found this out, I was like, oh my gosh, this literally changes everything when it comes to decorating in the game. So if you hit the little home icon that I just clicked on the screen, it will open up into a decorating mode that looks something like this. But you can actually get into a top-down decorating mode by clicking this little icon in the upper right-hand corner. When you click this, it actually separates you from your character and allows you to get really granular and like how you want to decorate and, change your plot. plot. Another quick tip that was shared with me from my community is that, you know, this game has a interesting way of like clicking the screen to move around. So when you're in build mode like this, the one thing I want you to know is that if you click on the left side of the screen, that's what you use to move your camera around. Clicking on the right side of the screen allows you to rotate the camera to look in specific directions. This tip was super helpful for me when I was building, because the camera in the game is it can be finicky. It can be weird if you don't know how to control it. Now, because we're standing here in front of the garden, let's move into the next tip that I have for you, which is understanding what the stars above your crops mean. Because if you're maybe a new player, or maybe you're not a new player, the stars actually have a significant meaning. So as you know, in the game, your friends can come over and actually help you decorate. If you take a closer look, I'll zoom in so you can see these stars that I have over my crops have these little lines in the grooves of the star. Each one of those lines, when they're filled with that little mark, means that someone has come over and helped you to water your crops. So for example, if I water my crops right here, okay, you'll see that the star goes from the 2 little lines that it had to now 3 little lines. You can have a total of 4 lines on your star, and that's the full amount. Now, the benefit of having other people help you water your garden and your crops is that when the stars have more of those marks, you actually get higher quality, or the chance to get higher quality produce or like resources back. I believe this also works for your flowers over here. You can see the star has those lines on it too, which I think will give you the opportunity to maybe get different seeds or rare seeds for flowers or something like that. So it definitely has a benefit, and having friends come over to help you garden or water your crops and your flowers is really important. Also, make sure you do it for other people too. All right, now let's move into some tips about resources, because I had a hard time finding some of the resources that I need for crafting, and it turns out a lot of them are actually right in front of your face. You just don't know that you can interact with them yet. So for example, one of these resources is rare timber, and I looked at a crafting recipe that I was trying to make, and I had no idea how to gather rare timber. It turns out that rare timber is actually found on these really massive trees here. I kept driving past these. I didn't think that these were trees that you could actually interact with, but it turns out you can chop these trees to get, I think it's like 1 rare timber from each tree. Now, they have super long cooldown times, but I think you can do this multiple times a day. But just be mindful for a daily thing, and I am going to make a daily routine video to help you understand like what you should do every single day in order to gather all the resources and just get the most out of your game. This is one of those things you should be doing, chopping down these trees. Now, if you're looking for these large trees, you can find them in the suburban area here, and there's multiple trees around. So just look for the biggest ones, chop those down, and that's how you get rare timber. Now, another tip I want to include that I know a lot of people may be aware of is bubbles. Now, although some of these bubbles do pop up whenever you're running around and you can collect resources and other things from them, there are some bubbles that are hidden all around the map in all of the different areas that you can visit. For example, I just took us over to this area here, and if you run over here, you'll see that I haven't been to this pier yet, and here is a blueprint. I'm assuming it's a furniture blueprint, and yeah, we got the recipe for the Oceanic. I think this is a tableware, which is really cute. So make sure you're looking around, because those are really helpful blueprints. Okay, so now let's talk about events in the game. And this section is going to be a little bit longer because there's a number of events that happen weekly, on a weekly basis, and also some that come seasonally. I'm not going to cover all of them because I'm pretty sure that there are more than even I know about, but I will cover the ones that are most common right now. I'm going to insert some gameplay footage over the screen so you can see, but we'll start off with one of the most important aspects about these specialty days in the game, and that's the fact that you can find someone named Doris during any of these in-game events that are happening. And Doris is selling specialty items depending on the weather or the type of event that's happening. So you always want to make sure when something like this is going on that you are looking for Doris and shopping in her store. We'll start with some of the most common, which is rainy days. Now, rainy days actually will bring specialty like creatures and fish. So you want to make sure that you're fishing and kind of out exploring the world while it's raining, so you can find some of these rare creatures all around your map. Now, there's also snowy days in the game, and the snow days bring specialty events like winter related in-game events that you have to quest with the NPCs for and things like that. But you also have the ability to find snow piles around the ground, and you can use those snow piles to build snowmen. Now, I don't know if building snowmen has some significance or if there's like an achievement for building a certain amount, but I do know that that's something you can do on snowy days. But let's talk about the more significant events that happen, which I think happen on a weekly or semi-weekly basis. First one, and probably my personal favorite, is the Rainbow Day event. So all of the things that you do normally in the game, like bug catching, fishing, cooking, and all of that, you'll get a blessing that could result in better quality fish, better quality meals, which turns into money for you if you're selling to Albert. And you also have the opportunity to get something called a rainbow bouquet. Now, you may have seen these running around in the game where people have like these little colorful hearts all around their character. That is the rainbow bouquet that you can actually use on your character or around your friends in a group. Everybody will get the blessing, and then you'll actually get this rainbow blessing that you usually get during the event. And you can use it, for example, say you're going to do like a cooking party or you're going to make a bunch of meals. You'll want to use that rainbow bouquet at that time because you can get the opportunity to, of course, make better quality meals or catch better quality fish. So make sure you go around and find all of the bouquets during the rainbow event so that you can collect these and start storing them up to use them strategically. Now, to my understanding, I think there's only 3 bouquets that you can collect during the event at a time. So keep that in mind. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure that it's only 3. But again, during the rainbow event too, you also need to find doors who will have a specialty shop for the rainbow event during this time. Now, the next one is the meteor shower. And this is where you will find shooting stars coming through the sky. And when this event is taking place, you'll head to the Onsen Mountains where you'll find starfall shards that are kind of like the other rocks that are in the game, and you can mine these specialty shards that you can then take to Doris, who will appear during the event, and trade for cool furniture items. I think I've gotten an emote, and I don't know if the items change, but a lot of this is this really unique looking furniture and especially like bathroom items that you can use in your house. So again, make sure you come into your watch and check the weather because every day other than like sunny days have some type of significance, whether it's to help you build out your collections menu or if it's to help you collect some things that you'll need from the meteor shower or the rainbow events. You're going to want to make sure you're participating in those because the benefits are amazing. So that's all the tips I have for you today, friends, but please, if you are an experienced player or even someone who has additional tips, comment them down below. We need to learn all that we can about the game. And if you enjoyed the video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing if you're interested in other guides and tips and tricks videos, especially when it comes to Heartopia, because I'll be working on those. And until next time, I will catch you all in the next one. Peace.